Alright guys, so today we are going to be doing cha-ching number 56 is what I am currently on. So let's get started where I left off. The first thing that I have is a vintage mesh trucker hat. I purchased a bunch of these at a church yard sale. I paid $1 a piece. This one was called Jim Boy's Tacos. Apparently it was a restaurant in California. I think it still exists. That was I had some Starbucks before I started this video. I paid $1 for it and it sold for $25.99. I've really been enjoying selling hats here lately, so that was definitely a good sale since I only paid $1. Oh my god, I apologize ahead of time for this video. Woo! Okay, next we have a set of vintage, these were like chenille pipe cleaner rabbits for Easter. They had strings on the top to kind of use them as ornaments type of thing. I got those at the same church sale I got the trucker hats from. I think I paid $1 or 50 cents for these, and those sold for $12.99. I sold a New Geneva pottery snowman. This was kind of like, it looked almost like a totem pole type of thing, but it was faces of snowmen heads. That sold for $29.99, and it did go to a subscriber. That originally came from the auction. I had won that at the auction. Next thing I have is a set of two Lori Mitchell. These were like July 4th type of figures. It was a girl and a boy. I got these at a yard sale. I think I may have paid $10 for them, $5 a piece. Those sold for $55.99. Lori Mitchell's items are definitely on the pricey side. I have some of her stuff in my own collection, particularly Christmas items. I would have loved if those were Christmas or Halloween related. I don't really decorate for 4th of July, but I just love the look of her stuff. So that was a nice sale. Next we have, this was just like a vintage swan figure. It was just a white swan. That sold for $14.99. That came from a yard sale. I probably paid about $1 for it. I actually have another set of New Geneva pottery. These were Halloween related, but they were snowmen kind of like dressed for Halloween. There was 3 of them, 3 different ones. Those sold for $39.99. Those also came from the auction. Same day I won the snowmen. And yeah, that one actually went GSP. That went overseas, those snowman pumpkins. Next I have a vintage kitchen towel holder. This was a white duck head. This was so super cute. So you could hang your towel on it, you could hang an apron on it, that kind of thing. It was still in its original box. That sold for $17.99, and that did come from a yard sale. Eric and I had picked that up. Actually, Eric had picked it up quite a while back. I definitely feel like I had that one for a while. We had purchased other ones at the time and those all sold, but this one, for whatever reason, took a little while longer to sell. I also have a vintage Peterbilt t-shirt. So this was a vintage, what they call single stitch t-shirt. This is kind of, Peterbilt's like, has to do with like the big Mack trucks type of thing. I found this at the same church sale I got the hat and the rabbits from. I paid $1 for that shirt and it sold for $40. I did put that up on auction because I wasn't quite sure what to price it at, and that's what it ended for. So I still think that's a great sale considering I only paid $1 for it. I have a bottle of Tommy Hilfiger perfume. This was in the scent Tea Girl. And fun fact, oh my gosh, I miss my dog so much. Oh my gosh, I still like practically cry every single day because I miss her so much. But her name was Tasha, but I always used to call her Tea Girl. Like that was like one of her many nicknames that I had for her. So I love the name of this perfume because it's pretty much named after her. That sold for $27.99, and that is a discontinued fragrance. I sold a Hallmark ornament. This was surprising. I feel like some Hallmark ornaments really just aren't worth anything, but this one was a Gone with the Wind. It still was in its original box. I picked this up at a fill-a-bag rummage sale. That sold for $15.99. So I probably paid like a quarter or 50 cents for it. So not too bad. Next we have a Fragrant Jewels ring. So this was a ring that came in a bath bomb, a Fragrant Jewels bath bomb that I had used. They make really good bath bombs, and there's jewelry in their bath bombs. So if you love bath bombs and things like that, and candles as well, they have the jewelry and the candles. They have like really nice jewelry in like their candles and their bath bombs, but this ring just wasn't really me, so I decided to sell it. That sold for $19.99. I sold a vintage Barney plush. This was actually of TJ. That sold for $13.99, and I got that out of a free box alongside of a curb, so I didn't pay anything for that. Next item was a vintage Mr. Potato Head with some accessories. I think he was dressed like a fireman. That sold for $25.99. This did belong to my aunt, so I will be splitting the profit of that with her. Speaking of which, I gotta call her this week because I want to go over there because I still owe her some money from some of the stuff that we sold. Next I have a Torrid top. This was just a really cute little boho top. This did go to a subscriber and it sold for $25.99. Probably picked that up at the thrift store. That's typically where I find most of the Torrid items that I do find is from thrift stores. So I probably paid about $4 and some change for it. Next two items, again, were from that same church sale. I found a bunch of like vintage children's shirts. I wasn't quite sure how these would go when I got them, but I only paid $1 a piece. I believe I only paid $1 a piece for them. I know it wasn't much. So the first one that sold was a Miami Mice shirt. So this was kind of like a play on Miami Vice. That one sold for $19.99, which isn't bad. And the next one that I sold was an ET shirt. So this was like real small, like tiny kids shirt. That one actually sold a little bit higher at $25.99. And both of those shirts went GSP. So both of them went overseas. So I don't know, like I feel like there's just a much more larger, what's the word I'm looking for? Just grouping of people who are looking for vintage items, vintage kids shirts, vintage shirts in general, and vintage trucker hats. A lot of those go overseas. So just kind of letting you guys know like what I'm seeing, like when I sell stuff, like if you don't offer GSP or don't ship overseas, you could be losing out on sales from, you know, potential buyers overseas because they do like their vintage items. Next we have a Coach wallet that sold for $22.99. Got this at a yard sale and I think I paid $1 for it at the most. It was really cheap and it was a cute wallet, so I decided to pick it up. Next item I have, again, was something that belonged to my aunt. This was a vintage Sweet Valley High board game. I do believe this went to a subscriber, and that sold for $49.99. So this is definitely a board game that sells pretty decently, especially, obviously, if it is complete. Funny, she had a Babysitter's Club board game that I didn't take because it was missing a piece, so we're kind of like waiting to see if we can find it at some point, the piece that was missing. but the Babysitters Club one seems to sell pretty decently as well. And I found that game at a yard sale just the other week. So now I can finally list a Babysitters Club game. It's not listed yet, but I'm excited to get that up. But first I have to see if it has all its pieces. I didn't check yet. So if it doesn't, maybe we'll be able to make a complete game from hers, and then I'll just split the profit from her. Next we have a lot of treasure trolls. So you guys know I have been selling a lot of the large troll dolls. So I won these at the auction, and I decided to just take a chance on some other trolls since I was having such good luck with the big ones. So the treasure troll lot sold for $29.99, which isn't bad. I definitely feel like if I find these treasure trolls while out yard sailing for like a quarter or something, then I might start like trying to accumulate like a little lot to resell, because I don't think that's bad. $30 for some treasure trolls. Next I have a vintage children's Mickey Mouse beach towel. I feel like this went to a subscriber, but I'm unsure. That sold for $19.99. So I had found like, I don't know if it was 3 or 4 vintage children's beach towels at a yard sale, and the lady wanted $1 for like all of them, like not separately, like the whole pile for $1. And I was really only interested in the one, but I was like, well, I might as well just take the rest of them since I'm paying $1 anyway. And surprisingly, the ones that I weren't even really all that interested in purchasing have been selling. So just kind of goes to show that just because you like something or not necessarily like something, that doesn't mean someone else isn't looking for that something that, you know, you're not really interested in, type of thing. So it's best to keep your mind open pretty much about everything. Next we have a Green Bay Packers poncho sweater. Picked this up at a thrift store. That sold for $26.99. So in my last cha-ching, you guys saw I was selling a bunch of Monster High dolls. I had purchased this large lot of Monster High dolls and accessories at a yard sale for $20. I have made my money back and have been profiting off these Monster High dolls pretty well. So this one was a Laguna Blue doll. That one sold for $19.99. They were pretty much selling all for $19.99, but they did have clothes and did have some of their accessories, so that helped a lot as well. Next I have a Rainbow Bright, this was patio green doll. I got this at a yard sale. I paid $2 for it, and that sold for $19.99. And you saw my last cha-ching, I sold the red butler and the whole hoopla of what I tried selling them together as a lot. The person never paid, then I separated them and ended up making more money by doing that. So that was the other one from that lot. The next 2 items went to the same person. These were the Mark by Avon Get Misty body sprays. I had found these at a yard sale. They were brand new, still sealed. The body sprays themselves were $1, and then the sprayer they had separately for 50 cents. So I paid $1.50 for each bottle. So the first one that sold was the fragrance Snowdrop Flower, and that sold for $19.99. And the other one was scented as Plum Berry, which also sold for $19.99. I feel like I have one more available, and I can't remember the fragrance of it. I think it's a lemon sugar or something like that. But anyway, I don't think Avon has the Mark line anymore. So those items, if you see them, are pretty much discontinued, potentially harder to find. So I would definitely, if I would come across anything by that brand, I would look it up just to make sure. Next we have another Torrid piece. This was a tank top. This also went to a subscriber, and that sold for $22.99. came from the thrift store, so I probably paid $4 and some change, so close to $5 for it. All right, the next two items were two of those large troll dolls that I had won at the auction. So the first one was in a floral dress. She was cute, but not as cute as the next one, in my opinion. So I never really say like what I pay for these, just because, just in case they ever come up at the auction again, I don't want anyone to know like what my highest bids are, kind of thing. But this one sold for $129.99. So definitely made some good profit off of that. And then the next one, this one was the cutest one. Oh my gosh, I absolutely loved it. If I were into trolls and into collecting trolls, this one would have been like my holy grail troll find, because she was so adorable. This one was in a blue kind of like polka dotted outfit. She had a little bow in her hair. It was so cute. And she also sold for $129.99. So those were awesome sales. Next we have a University of Michigan hat. This sold for $19.99. So this wasn't vintage or anything like that. I picked it up at Goodwill. I feel like their hats are $1 and some change, probably like maybe $1.99. So I did look that one up before I purchased it, and I saw that it was selling decently. So I decided to go ahead and grab it. Typically, I'm just like after the vintage ones, but the vintage ones, sure, some of them are worth good money, but there's also money to be made in newer hats as well. This next one, again, was a Mountain Dew hat. It was designed by someone. I don't know. It kind of had this like pop art kind of look to it. Anyway, this one sold really well. It sold for $39.99. I paid $3 for it. This was at a different thrift store. But when I looked that up, I saw that it was selling at a decent price. So I decided to grab that. Next, I have a vintage Bystol Halloween cat. This here I sold for $19.99, and I picked this up at a yard sale, and I think I paid like a quarter or 50 cents for it. Next, I have a set of two Bath & Body Works Wallflower refills. These were in the scent Sandalwood Vanilla, which is a discontinued scent. I picked these up at Goodwill, and I think I paid $1.99 for each box, and those sold for $35.99. Next thing I have is a lot of, this was a doll called Tootie Chris or Tutty Chris. I'm not exactly sure exactly how to pronounce that. I won this lot of dolls and like accessories and clothes and stuff like that at an auction, and there was also like a vintage little Kittles ring inside there, so I listed that separately. That hasn't sold yet, and that was like the main reason I wanted the whole lot, and that always happens. I win something at the auction specifically for something, and everything else that was with it sells before the one thing that I wanted from the whole lot. So anyway, this sold for $44, and I think I paid like 20 something for the lot. So I gotta get that little Kittles ring to sell. Anyway, next we have a vintage trucker hat. This went to a subscriber, and the message that this came with made me so happy. The hat said, "I go fishing just for the halibut," which is just like kind of a play on words. Like it almost makes it sound like I just go fishing for the hell of it kind of thing, but it's halibut, like it's just punny. Anyway, a subscriber purchased this, and it reminded her of her grandfather. It made me feel so happy that like something that I was selling is gonna bring someone, you know, a smile to their face kind of thing, because it reminds them of somebody, and that just made me feel so happy. Like I love hearing stories like that. Next we have a set of glass ashtrays. This was a set of 4, and each one had a different card suit on it. So this would be like really cool for people who, you know, like to play cards with a lot of other people and that type of thing. So those sold for $19.99. I can't remember where I picked them up. I'm sure it was a yard sale, but I don't know. No, you know, it might have came from an auction, like a flat that I had won. Next we have another Monster High doll. This one was a Frankie Stein that sold for $19.99 and came from that lot of Monster High dolls that I purchased at the yard sale. I sold a vintage tray that had Santa Claus on it. This was by a company called Kurak. I bought this at a thrift store. I think I might have paid about $4 for it, $3.99. And that sold for $29.99. I sold a Lorac lipstick for $12.99. I had purchased kind of like a set of Lorac lipsticks at a yard sale. I think I paid $4 for the set, and I decided to part them out. So one of those sold. So that's not bad since I only paid $4 for them. And the last thing that I have for this cha-ching was a vintage Hilo Hattie's Hawaiian dress. It had pineapples all over it. Super fun, super cute, and super tropical. That sold for $18.99, and I had this forever, but it finally sold, so that's all that matters. But that is everything for this cha-ching. As far as problems that have arisen on eBay, out of these sales, there were 2 things that I sold that were not paid for. So, you know, I obviously relisted those and they haven't resold yet. So 2 non-paying bidders. Non-paying bidders, they're still happening. I feel like it's not as many as there have been lately, but still a problem. But other than that, like, nothing is really been an issue. Like, I haven't been having any problems. I feel like sales are kind of slumping. I did go through like a good wave of really good high priced sales, and here lately I feel like I'm selling a lot of just low end of the spectrum type sales. But you know, there are some better ones like sprinkled in there, but I definitely feel like my sales are slightly down right now, which isn't like the biggest deal. I have plenty of inventory to get listed, so you know, it's not the biggest deal, but you know, it's middle of summer, people are on vacation. I'm not on vacation, but people are on vacation having a good time, that kind of thing, so they're not, you know, looking to really shop too much. But yeah, I definitely feel like sales have been a little slow. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. You'll have to let me know what you thought down in the comments, how things are going for you, what has been selling really well for you, considering, you know, people call this the summer slowdown or summer slump. So if you're still experiencing a lot of great sales, what are you selling? Let us know down in the comments. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you next time.